In the olden days, you are suffering hardship, you are given hardship pay.
Hello and welcome to On Air with Aashka. Today we are joined by two brilliant minds, Dr. Kevin Jones and Mr. Andeed Ma. Mr. Andeed Ma is the president of RIMAS Singapore and a partner at Artificial Intelligence International Institute in Singapore. With 17 plus years of experience in AI and risk management, he lectures at Singapore universities and he has co-authored the most amazing book called AI for Humanity. It's a must-read book for every person working in AI. He has also led the development of Singapore standard for ISO 42001-2023 AI management system.
If you're an organization and you have a value and standard and the way you treat people, that should extend whether you're in the United States, whether you're in Canada, whether you're in Kenya, whether you're in Tanzania. It doesn't matter where you are. There is no ethical justification for having a differentiation of human dignity. Okay?
Dr. Kevin Jones is an associate professor at Indiana University and is the director of Center for Teaching and Learning. With 30 plus years of leadership across industries, he has co-led the university's Gen AI task force and he specializes in organizational AI integration. He is a sought-after speaker for international conferences and media events.
One thing that DeepSeek did well was the ability to make things explainable to humans. Although I know humans are still impatient, why are you telling me everything that you're thinking? But that's the jewel.
Instead of being afraid of AGI gets here, it's all over. Wouldn't it be wonderful if we can apply AGI to the problem of pollution and come up with some solution?
In fact, there will be more jobs that you can imagine when it comes to your working day.
With your own statement in the book, Good Governance, it's not about slowing the AI car, but making sure it doesn't crash. And of course, it's not stifling innovation, it's just taking you towards the right direction.
So the magic word is learn to collaborate.
Goal number 18 as a way of reframing the relationship between humans and AI. We know that goal number 17 is partnership, is human and human. So here we want to add in the level of human and AI.
Indeed, your book describes the psychological trauma of Kenya's click workers who were involved with filtering disturbing content for ChatGPT. So, how do we build global AI governance frameworks that protect these invisible human workforces while still allowing for innovation? And I'm asking this as a personal question as well, because I have been working as a bug bounty hunter at Anthropic and I have had experience with this firsthand. So, give me an answer to solve my issue. Yeah.
But again, content moderation is nothing new. You know what we are facing right now? Of course, we know OpenAI was using Scale AI, and Scale AI is the vendor that is managing, right? So content
And
moderation
Anthropic was using TaskUp or something to get the similar workers. So go ahead.
I mean, even when back then when I was with ByteDance,
Mm-hmm.
TikTok has a very huge content moderation team.
Mm-hmm.
All these problems that we have seen where they are being constantly exposed to materials that are harmful psychologically and
Yes.
sometimes socially. It is not a new problem
Yeah.
per se, right? So what would be actually really the challenge is I would say the concept of fair compensation. A global fair compensation where it can highly influence the international labor standards. Because at this present moment, this is not transparent enough, right, in the AI supply chain.
Yeah.
How are these workers from different parts of the world, why someone in America is getting a higher pay than someone in South Africa
Yes.
when they possess the same skill sets? So you can see this itself is one of the sustainability development goals, right?
Yeah.
So this itself is a problem. And
Yeah.
have we think about using artificial intelligence to address it? So again, like there are times where we talk about, well, if I'm not paid fairly, that could be because I am using AI to help in my work. So how should I reward I and also reward the person? And that is fair. That's when we bring another nomination of AI as a person in the equation to normalize these global payment standards and labor standards. Again, I have to disappoint you because there's no direct answer. And of course, through your
Yeah.
channel, I hope to get more people to
Mhm.
join us, to
Yes.
discuss, to debate, to find the right answer. The public-private partnership is a very important element for us to continue more research, more development into some of this framework discussion that we are having right now. Because there will be people who are not happy that you are saying that I'm charged the same way. So this brings us back to the fairness context, right? If I'm telling you a solution now, someone will give you a call tomorrow, and we're going to get into another big debate, right? So, but the key thing is we need people to start talking about this.
Yeah.
We need people to start putting in place various phases so that we can implement guidelines as we go along, right? It's not a big bang approach, right? We need people to first, and people here refers to people with different levels of AI literacy. Because am I fair to someone who has no knowledge about AI, fully using human efforts to do certain works? So you can see by just saying about one of the variables here, right?
Yeah. Yes.
We can't really give, or we can't really be fair to the international bodies to say that everyone should be paid fairly. This is the price tag, right? That is also not the best solution, right? So this is at this point in time, I'll probably pause here because I think we want to strike the right balance. That's what I'm trying to drive at,
Yeah.
between safeguarding workers and
Yeah.
fostering technological progress.
Yep. And also, like, I'm not sure when this particular incident happened, but this was mainly for the RLHF, reinforcement learning from human feedback, that was into the
Correct.
process. But like companies have shifted to RLAIF, like a reinforcement learning from AI feedback. So AI is also doing the content moderation so that we as humans don't have that mental health impact that much. So that is a
Possibly,
kind
yeah.
of a solution, but of course, pay is also a thing to be discussed about.
I
So
mean, if you think back, right, I think in the olden days we have this hazardous pay, right? So if you are posted
Wow,
to somewhere,
that's a walk back in the past.
yeah. So like if you are posted to a particular place to work and you are suffering hardship, you are given a hardship pay, right? So right now at this point in time, that has not been something that people think about.
yes,
And
yeah,
of
that's a
course,
very important point. Yeah,
human in the loop will still be there. I'm not saying
there,
that AI is
yes,
going to
yeah,
replace,
yep,
because new images, new content, new way of talking, new way of thinking, still need human
yes,
in the loop.
yeah,
So this symbiosis intelligence needs to be built together with humans and AI.
yeah, yes. I completely agree. Professor Jones, do you have anything to say?
Yes, I do. If any of my students watch this, they're going to go, oh boy, there he goes. Because I teach a class called Leadership and Ethics, okay? And our emphasis is trying to get people who are prospective leaders, managers, etc., to understand some common human values. There's principles like ethical relativism, which say, oh, there are no common human values. And you see, that leads to perspective, which says, well, if they're in Kenya, well, it's okay for them to not make any money because, well, that's all right for them. While if I'm in the United States, well, I obviously have to have this wage. That ethical relativism, which can be twisted. Ethical relativism at its best is saying, well, we respect cultural differences and understand that not everybody's the same. Where it goes off the rails is where it turns into kind of a weapon. It's like, well, okay, well, those people over there, they don't need money, okay? They don't need a living wage because they're just happy to have a job. Okay, if you're an organization and you have a value and standard and the way you treat people, that should extend whether you're in the United States, whether you're in Canada, whether you're in Kenya, whether you're in Tanzania, it doesn't matter where you are. There is no ethical justification for having a differentiation of human dignity. Okay. And part of the role of organizations, I know there are some organizational people that might throw something at the screen when I say this, but part of who we are as organizations is to lift society up. Yes, we are to make money. We understand that. That's what business is. I get it. However, business professor, of course, we always say we can make money, but there's this and I use this word a lot. There's an and while we're making money, we can elevate society. We can help people to develop. And it's not just altruistic. This can be beneficial to us because when we lift people up, what happens? They then become customers. Those are people that invest. They can become better employees for us. Okay. But I really believe that to be true. And we have examples of where it is true. So we need to make sure those who are leading the AI revolution understand that it's not just pure profit. It
Yeah.
can be for the elevation of not just one country, but the elevation of
Of
all countries.
humanity as a whole. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
On this point, Professor Jones, I try to debate a little bit. Different individuals are brought up with different moral values. I think I teach a class on ethics in AI, and I always start off with the concept of moral theories and reasoning. There are people who reason based on what they have gone through, right? People who believe in God command certain things. People who also believe a set of human or moral rights. So it becomes very challenging. I'm someone who believes in God telling me what to do. And then compared to someone who say, hey, I believe the right or wrong determines by the overall goodness and the consequences of the action. You are not doing the right action. So that is when friction happens. When friction happens, you do not have an answer, you create a roadblock and you create a standstill. And that's when nothing is done and things goes wrong.
Well, and let me be clear. I'm not speaking of ethical imperialism, okay? Where you are saying, okay, here's my values and you have to accept my values. What I'm saying is that in business, we have a tendency to justify the, we'll say, mistreatment of others because, well, they're there and that's okay there. And
Yep.
I say that as an organization, as you create a standard, you can apply that standard everywhere. No, you're not going to change the society. That's not what you again. It's not ethical imperialism. You're not going to Kenya and say, "Here's you have to do everything that we do here." But if you look at your employees and you say, "What is it that they value? Would they value $2 more an hour?" Well, probably. Maybe it's not the $10 an hour that you would have to do in your country, but maybe the $2 might be of value to them, and that would be more ethical alignment with how you treat employees, if that is your value. So that's always what I'm saying is that, your value standard can be contextualized, yes, but it should still follow you wherever you do business. Okay.
Agree. I think in the business standpoint, I think we might be creating something new today in this podcast. Organizations should create their own form of moral reasoning based on their employees because every group of employees are different. So when they can start considering their own moral reasoning as one of their values and they match it to what makes them money, I think that is what people call safeguards, people call governance. Yes, this is one of the many pieces. Well, an organization itself should have a moral value, should have a moral theory that governs it as a single entity, single body.
Yes. And if we bring it all the way back to AI, just think if we can get that across to leaders who are developing AI and they have a set of values that they're guiding their development with, they're guiding their implementation with.
Yes.
Just think that means their first thought would be toward the value, and then that helps them to mitigate all of the negatives that we so know about because they can strive toward the good and then work toward managing the negative. It's
Absolutely. Again, it's back to mindset. So when we use words like morals, when an organization entity has have a set of definition of what is right or wrong, based on who their human employees and founders are, that itself is a very strong, I would say, directional guide for the organization not to steer away from doing something that could be harmful to another human being.
Yes.
And there's a word that is and a lot of people want to throw stones at this word, but the word is empathy. Okay.
Yeah.
If I can, and I recently had a chance to visit India, okay? And
Mm.
I can read books about India. I can know people from India, but being in India created a completely different understanding for me of India, plural, okay? And it developed a greater sense of empathy to see things from a different lens
Mm.
and help me to have a positive, yes, a positive. How? Because I went in with an openness of seeking to understand rather than to go in and judge. So, we're talking about a lot of things that people are probably saying, oh, some people would say, oh, this is really soft. But I always ask, what do you want? How do you want to be treated? How would you want to, if you are another person is doing something with you, how do you want to be treated? Why can't we build these things into our AI systems as
Yep.
well?
Yep. And we might turn out to be a better person with the assistance of AI.
Sorry to interrupt, but let's do a quick vibe check of our sponsor today. In today's market, brands live or die by their vibes, that intangible energy that attracts customers, capital, and talent. When your vibes go negative, you are done. But maintaining those vibes across platforms, it takes an entire marketing team, or used to. Introducing Evolve.ai, the platform revolutionizing the $250 billion marketing industry by making vibe marketing accessible to everyone. Evolve transforms a single marketer into a complete vibe management system. Create your brand's unique voice profile once, and Evolve will maintain consistent vibes across all touchpoints. While you sleep, Evolve spots cultural moments like the Ghibli studio at their inception itself and helps you ride the wave. When a Seattle based engineer, Grant Slaton's Ghibli style family photo created worldwide FOMO just within hours. The brands working with Evolve were already riding the wave, while others scrambled to catch up. Clients working with Evolve are launching their marketing campaigns in days instead of weeks, saving over $5,000 monthly, all while strengthening their brand vibes. Join the Vibe Marketing Revolution by filling out the interest form through the link in description. If our vibes match, you might even land an exclusive discount on Evolve. After all, good vibes should be rewarded. Now let's get back to the conversation. Yes, yes. Yeah. So this is the first time humanity is working towards defining our global values as a whole. So of course we would get something great out of it. So we might have some human rights or AI rights declaration or global values of humanity.
Actually, it's simple. If they put SDG goal number 18, AI for humanity, we are on the right track.
Yeah, so I was actually coming on that question. So let's get into that SDG 18 question. So you, in your book, have proposed a new United Nations Sustainable Development Goal,
Yep.
18, number 18 in your book. So can you explain what specific targets and indicators this would include and how it would complement existing Sustainable Development Goals? I'm especially curious about how it might address the inequality gaps that you highlighted in the AI development. So, yeah,
Yep.
can you explain the SDG 18?
So I think it's really stems down to when we were looking at all 17 goals.
Yeah.
We were thinking about how we can encompass AI as an enabler within each of the development goals. And of course, right now, actually, Dr. James, who is also my co-author, is trying to reach out to United Nations. He flew down to Davos. He was at World Economic Forum, and we are doing our best to help people to think about goal number 18 as a way of reframing the relationship between humans and AI. We know that goal number 17 is partnership, is human and human.
Partnership. Yeah.
So here we want to add in the level of human and AI. In chapter 10, we talk a lot about that. We even talk about how you can drive similar targets and indications towards using AI to generate equitable access, using AI in a responsible governance manner, just like how we discussed early on, how
Yes.
organizations should adopt a moral as creating a moral value based on as an entity on its own. We also talk a little bit about some examples on AI literacy and education, because that itself is a very important integration that goal number 18 has to work with goal number 4, right? And Actually, to be honest, if you think about this, even life underwater, we have not fully explored. And in fact, we only know 5% of our ocean.
Yes.
And if you imagine we can know 5% more, would
Mhm.
that actually help in the way we look at why climate are changing above
Yeah.
water? Is there any influence? And all this information, I'm so happy and grateful that there are individuals and scientists who are already participating in this movement. One of those, I think, activity was around the researchers who study different marine animals' conversations. They are trying to build this into a language model so that we
Yes.
can understand what are the alerts, what are the warnings that our
Warnings for
fellow
climate crisis. Yeah.
yes, our fellow living organisms underwater is trying to tell us. And that
Yeah.
this additional information becomes so powerful that it will make
Mm.
our system more robust, our
Mhm.
mechanism more accountable. So you can imagine I'm just talking about goal number 18, working with life underwater. And
Yeah.
that itself help
Yes.
us to discover another 5% of the ocean. And that
Mm.
is not an overnight thing, right? And
Yep.
we really hope that, using this podcast and many other channels, we
Mm.
can sound off these voices, these call
Mm.
to actions together,
Mhm.
and we
Mhm.
can actually work on something that we can achieve global consensus on and address some of the most significant challenges that mankind is facing right now.
Yes, 100% agree with you. And like to be able to understand what these marine animals are telling us or giving us indicators of, we need to have them alive. And for that, we need to clean up the ocean, of course, with the waste that we have. Of course, there are projects like the ocean cleanup and stuff that
Mm.
are actively working towards using AI to clean up the ocean so that the marine animals are there alive and in their natural habitat, happily living and giving us the indicators that we want to understand. So I do agree with that. Professor Kevin, do you want to add to this?
Yes, and I've been doing a lot of thinking about just kind of this. And part of what I've been thinking about is how do we educate people in ways they think, okay? And there's one of the things is systems thinking, okay?
Mhm.
Systems thinking is an important component of how we are able to see more than just what's in front of us, right? I mean, if we take something as simple as, okay, where does our food come from? You know, we could go through the whole cycle and we can look at the different things that could interrupt or interdict or stop the food from coming to us. So if we take that with AI, we take systems think with AI, and we recognize that as almost everybody that I read says this is going to transform society. Okay, well, if it is going to transform society, shouldn't we be in front of it and say, okay, these are the transformations that are occurring. How can we use this technology to enable these transformations? Such as, okay, if we're facing a problem of, let's just say pollution, I'll just say that in general. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's a wonderful way for us to deploy AI, right? You know, instead of being afraid of when AGI gets here, it's all over. Wouldn't it be wonderful if we can apply AGI to the problem of pollution and come up with some new solutions to say, okay, we think of these things,
Nice.
right? And so it is as we are transforming society, we need to, and I don't know, I'm just speaking of just in general, how we are able to develop a systems way of thinking. And then the word number two is discernment.
Mm.
These are difficult things to teach, but at the same time, discernment is not judgment. It's not the same thing. Discernment is being able to say, okay, let me think through this critically and
Mm.
make a decision on this. And if we can have discernment, that can help us to kind of weigh, back to systems two thinking, weigh the consequences of deploying AI in this way or deploying AI in that way. And
Mm.
then also when we are deploying, last word, being a bit reflective, to step back and look at, oh, okay, here is what occurred. Here's the impact. And maybe as we're thinking about that impact, we might come to the conclusion that, okay, maybe we made a mistake, or maybe this was not what we wanted to occur. Well, if we think about it, then we can change it.
Yep.
We can refine it. We can fix it. And so that's the answer to people that say you don't want to put any guardrails on it because you stifle innovation. I strongly disagree with people who say that because
Mm.
you want to have guardrails, because that's where you can go to the guardrail and say, let's see, should we go past it or should we stay within it?
Yeah.
Let's reflect on it. Let's think about it. Let's think about the holistic, systemic component of the impact. And yes, let's use some discretions. Discern what we should do here or
Yep.
there.
Yes.
It's gonna make
Totally agree.
money for
Yep.
the billionaires. You're gonna make money either way. Why not make it in the way that can help rather than hurt?
Yep.
Yes, exactly. Systemic
Slow,
safety. Yeah.
slow is fast, and I'm glad, Professor Jones, you probably already articulated my infinity sign, where
Yes.
there's the emphasis of creating, using, augmenting, and reflecting that we bring out together with 4 principles, which one of the principle talks about containment, right? In fact, if you look at DeepSeek recent big hoo-ha, right, and if people dive deeper into it, one thing that DeepSeek did well was to introduce the ability to discern, the ability to make things explainable to human. Although I know humans are still impatient, why are you telling me everything that you're thinking? But that's the jewel, right? Because while they are sharing with you how they are thinking, people who actually pause and read what they are thinking are learning something. This is something that people are not patient enough to discern upon, because discerning works both ways. It means that you're learning from AI, right? When you teach AI, and AI teaching you back so that they can learn from you as human. And that symbiotic interaction is extremely crucial for, the future of like how human and AI will work together to bring about a very different dynamics, for the next generations to come, or multi generations to come.
See, that's people with technology.
Yep, there's people with technology.
Ma here just said it. That's people with technology right there.
Yep.
In fact, I just found the project that was doing the research on animals. They are called Earth Species Project, so folks can Google them. They study on emerging. They are a group of scientists that look at emerging fields of interspecies communication. So do check it out, because they really are a group of people who are contributing a lot to the society.
Yes.
Yep.
And Professor Kevin, you mentioned about this doomerism, or like AGI is coming and just be afraid of that. So, like, with this increasing AI doomerism in the public, like, how can organizational leaders foster productive conversations about AI risks? Of course, the guardrails and everything is important, without paralyzing their organizations with just mere fear about like AGI is coming to take away my jobs and coming in a bad way. So how can we ensure that?
Okay, as the oldest person on this call here, let me tell you, it's not going to come from people like me. It's going to come from people like you. Okay. See, one of the things that one of the beautiful things that we know is that, not to say all older people are, you know, resistant to change, not to say that, because it's not true. But at the same time, we do know that young people, because they are learning, they're growing, developing, they see things and possibilities sometimes better than those of us who live life and become jaded and, oh, you can't do that, and I can't see how that's going to work. And that's what we need. We need young people to step up, to be able to speak, to stand at the stage and say, here's what we need to see, because this is what's going to affect us. Because, okay, is HIE going to be here in 3 years, 5 years, 7 years, 10 years? Okay, like I tell people, in 20 years, I won't care. 20 years, I'll be like, okay, I mean, that's nice, but I'm kind of tired. I'm going back to bed, But young people, I say this to my students all the time. I say, you have that opportunity, because you can take the long view. Okay. Don't be discouraged in the short term. Don't be discouraged by all the negativity of, when AGI comes, that's going to be the end of humanity. Okay. Well, I always say to people, maybe, I don't know. But I also know that I've lived through a number of things that were going to end society in my lifetime. I'm just old enough to remember when nuclear weapons was going to end the society. Now, again, it still could, but it hasn't. Okay. I remember when calculators were going to end all ability to do math. It didn't. And then finally, well, I'm not sure if social media might be ending society, but that's a different discussion. But
Yeah.
we do know that the internet did not end our society. It did not
Yeah.
ruin society. Yeah, there's plenty of negatives. We know, yes, all the negatives. But with all those negatives, how many of us are willing to say, oh gosh, this is so bad, I'm not going to use it? We use it because we see the benefit. And always
Benefits.
back to young people embrace technology. Young people use technology. So now what we just hope can help educate young people to stand up for their own futures and see the benefit of a positive future rather than the dystopian future.
Mm, mm.
Yes.
In fact, I wanted to reinforce what Professor Joan just shared, and I also shared that in my class.
Yeah.
For folks who are like, oh, it's destroying my job, it's destroying
Yeah.
the world, but I provide them with statistical information around how the world is aging. In fact, there will be more jobs than you can imagine when it comes to your working age, because that if today there's no newborn, you won't find a newborn in 20 years time. you,
Right.
you can't accelerate an organism. If possibly, I'm not sure that will have ethical issues. If 2025 we have 10 people less, this 10 people less will still happen in 50 years time, in 20 years time. So if you imagine now we have countries like Japan, even China, such a big country, even India, right, will come up. You know, the entire nations are aging. Who is going to do the job? Who is going to do the thinking? Right? We are not talking about even jobs that are like fixing your pipes, etc. We are talking about knowledge workers. We will have shortage of that. Who will be there? So when I kind of shared this, then you realize the student starts to realize it's for our future.
Right. That's right.
Yeah.
And
So that's the reality. Numbers can't lie.
Yes.
There's not going to be another 10 humans drop from the sky in 50 years time.
right,
Yeah.
right.
So
And
that's the reality.
and I want to add to that, I was in a city that maybe you've heard of, Hyderabad, okay? And I was at the technology center there in Hyderabad, and I saw these young people, okay? These young entrepreneurs, young technological people working hard, thinking through different solutions, ideas. And, that says it right there. When you see that, you know that we have potential for a positive future. No, I don't know each of their stories. I don't know each of them, but I do know that willingness to say, I'm going to create, I'm going to innovate, I'm going to look toward a possibility. If you have that kind of thinking, and yes, as an older person, I will say there's more of that with young people than there is with older people. When you think in that way, that is maybe our secret to succeeding with these transitions that are occurring with AI. So, young people, stand up, speak,
Yep.
learn, grow, develop, be ready to take that mantle to lead us to where we need to go.
Yes.
Amazing. Amazing.
So, let us wrap this conversation with some practical advices that, okay, for me, like, go and do this if you want to survive in this AI age or evolving AI age. So, what are those mindset shifts or proper skill training or whatever you have as advice for the young people? Can you please share with the audience?
Well, let me say,
Prof.
there's a
Yep.
book you should probably
Read
read.
this book first.
There's a book called AI for Humanity. No, my name's not on it, and I haven't read it thoroughly yet. And I didn't know
Thank you
this
so much.
gentleman before this podcast, but I tell you what, okay.
Yeah.
Beside that, it's in that same genre. Read things about ethics. Read things about humanity. Learn about people. Meet people. I know it's the two things. So let me summarize it. I'll summarize it. Okay? Learn to look outside yourself and believe that as you look outside yourself, you can grow and benefit yourself by seeking to help others and work with others. So the magic word is learn to collaborate, learn
Yes.
to listen, learn to work with everyone and meet them where they are. And hopefully they meet you.
That's a wonderful response. And what about you?
I think people have the misconception about governance. They thought that governance means I have to do charity, I have to sacrifice profit. The
Yeah,
answer is not.
not.
We
Yeah.
are just trying to ask you to transit from a profit-driven AI mentality to an AI that genuinely serves humanity, fostering trust, equity, and long-term societal benefits. You gain a lot more, right? It's like how organization in the traditional settings where you think about reputation management. Now we are trying to help you to think, having another big term, reputation management, now towards humanity management, if you want to call it, right? Because when you can manage humans, then you realize that AI is not here to replace us. It is here to help us.
Yep.
It is here to help us to become a better person, better organization, more responsible, and a better country, a better community, a better planet as a whole. And we should be proud as one of the, I would say,
Inventors.
more innovative, more forward-looking, forward-improving kind of planet where we one day meet something or someone from another planet. We should be proud of that. Yep.
Yes, and that's a great response too. And to sum up with your own statement in the book, good governance is it's not about slowing the AI car, but making sure it doesn't crash. And of course, it's not stifling innovation. It's just taking you towards the right direction with all the proper guardrails and whatever we have. And as we have seen in the history, like governance or regulations have come up after catastrophes like with car seatbelt, with FDA regulations, whatever it is. So this time we are taking forward thinking approach and we are putting in the governance right in place at the right time and not waiting for a catastrophe to happen and then working on the governance or the regulation aspect of the technology. So that's the thing that we have learned from the history. So of course humanity is growing. And yeah, thank you so much for doing this episode. Please do like, share, comment, subscribe, and hit the bell icon to make the YouTube algorithm happy and help us build an informed community that is excited about AI's benefits while staying aware of its risks. We would love to know what's your take on AI content moderation? Do you think these workers deserve a hazard pay? Have you considered global inequalities in AI labor practices before? Haven't seen part 1 yet? Please go check it out. To learn about how AI can help us live forever, reunite lost children with their families, and create a future where humanity thrives alongside AI rather than being replaced by it. Find the link somewhere here or in the description below. Stay tuned for more such episodes. This is Aashka signing off for now. Let's ride these airwaves again soon.